The epic miniseries Band of Brothers is among the best World War II projects of all time, based on the book of the same name by Stephen E. Ambrose. It follows the soldiers of Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division from their start in 1942 up to the end of World War II. The series, the first of 3 miniseries which includes the Pacific and the upcoming Masters of the Air, premiering on Apple TV Plus on January 26, 2024, has been praised, rightly, as one of the most historically accurate, with a realism and intensity that brought the war to vivid life on screen. However, it doesn't mean that it isn't without its inaccuracies. Most are minor, like saluting with the left hand and not the right in one instance, but there are some major inaccuracies as well. Band of Brothers is historically accurate, to a point. Tanks, or how they were used, is one problem that historians have with Band of Brothers. In Episode 3, Corinton, the German forces are seen using a Jag Panther, a World War II tank destroyer, in their counterattack during the Battle of Corinton. It may look good on screen, but would never have been there in the first place. The Battle of Corinton took place between June 10, 1944, and June 14, 1944, but the Jag Panthers were only used later in the Battle of Normandy, which ran from June 6, 1944, to August 30, 1944, against British units. At the time of the battle, the closest Jag Panthers in the area were in the German 654th Heavy Anti-Tank Battalion, who were not involved. Another inaccuracy involving tanks had more to do with enforcing Hollywood stereotypes than maintaining accuracy. The questionable scene sees a macho, Easy Company soldier telling a British tank commander to fire through a house to hit a hidden German tank. The restrained British soldier declines, as he is prohibited from creating unnecessary destruction of property. The entire dialogue is bogus, as not only did the order never exist, but forces on both the Allied and Axis sides were all guilty of causing unnecessary property damage. Some of the human stories were downplayed in Band of Brothers as well. In points, the final episode, Major Richard Winter's Damian Lewis is offered a Luger by a German soldier as a show of surrender, but tells the man to keep his gun as a show of respect, another testament to his honor. In reality, Winters did take the gun, a Walther PP pistol. Upon examination, he realized that the gun had never been fired, which arguably would have been a more impactful moment in the series. In another instance, Technical Sergeant Donald Malarkey, Scott Grimes, formed a relationship with a German POW who had grown up in the same town as himself. This moment is downplayed as the real story is almost too coincidental to be true, as Malarkey and the POW actually worked across the street from each other for years. Another story that wasn't fleshed out completely is that of Anna Rebecca Okode, a black nurse from Congo. Anna is actually a Belgian nurse by the name of Augusta Chowie, who was awarded the Civilian Award for Humanitarian Service for her selfless service and bravery. She saved countless lives, despite an American regulation stipulating that black nurses could not treat white soldiers. A young Army doctor, John Pryor, simply told them, "You either let her treat you or you die." Even though not everyone's story could fit in the narrative, it is a shame that stories like these were not given the attention they warranted. Band of Brothers' 3 biggest sins. Mark Warren as Private Albert Blythe in Band of Brothers image via HBO. However, there are 3 elements that stand as Band of Brothers' biggest sins: Private Albert Blythe, Mark Warren, First Lieutenant Norman Dyke, Peter O'Mara, and Der Fuhrer himself, Adolf Hitler. In Corinton, one of the key characters is Private Blythe, who is seen suffering from shell shock and temporary blindness before shaking it off and going back into action. As the episode nears its end, a German sniper shoots Blythe in the neck while he is on a patrol. Before the credits, a statement notes that Private Blythe died from his wounds in 1948. That would have been quite the shock for Blythe, who didn't actually die until 1967 of a perforated ulcer while on duty in Germany. While most of the account is correct, he was shot in the collarbone, not the neck, and remained in the Army, eventually rising to Master Sergeant. The surviving members of Easy Company had simply assumed he died, it seems, hence the disconnect. While Blythe's story in the series has a reasonable excuse for being inaccurate, the second story is straight-up character assassination. In Episode 7, The Breaking Point, First Lieutenant Norman Dyke, the new company commander, doesn't appear at the front very often, preferring to take walks or make phone calls. But during the assault on Foy, Belgium, Dyke panics, freezes up,